you posted the other day on LinkedIn about your 22 biggest takeaways from working with founders and CEOs.
Yep.
Um, One of them was acquire your first 100 customers manually. Don't spoil the fruit with paid. Can you
Mm.
kind of go into why that's important, why you put that down?
Yeah, I think it's important because when I say that you cut corners with paid, and I get it, like, if you're like a brand to consumer model, like you're selling like coffee pods or something, and you're on Instagram.
Right.
I understand that, but I would still say it still applies. um, which is like you really want to understand the customer. Like you want to get in front of a prospect and you want to understand the problems and the pain that exists in their lives, because I think that is the most neighborly thing that you can do, right? Before you can diagnose and minister to that person. So I think there's a wisdom to that. I think there's a sense in which you are living out the gospel, you're incarnating by actually taking the time to reach. And then I think it's also important, again, as a founder, to be able to do these things, because eventually when you do scale it, when you do hire somebody, right, to take on that role, or when you do understand marketing, like you're not just going to delegate it to people. You're going to really understand from the inside out what they say, why they say it, how they say it. And I think those intangibles you can't get by Instagram ads, right?
Hmm.
Like those are obviously use direct response. I have some perspective there, but again, you don't want to be beholden to that, because once you're beholden to that, you're just beholden to an algorithm, man, right? You're beholden to some platform that doesn't care about your customer. It just cares about optimization and getting as much dollars from you and from your brand out of millions of others. So you have a wonderful opportunity given to the Lord to steward it well, and yet you don't know your customer. Doesn't make any sense to me. And I think it also provides humility. It really does. Because you have this great vision, this is what you're going to do, and then you realize your customer's like, dude, I don't even care about that. It's like, I don't even, what are you talking about? And sometimes like you need to face that and develop a callus, and you realize that the Lord gave you a seed, he didn't give you the final picture. That
Right.
final picture is wonderful and it's outside of you. So thank goodness that you're not the prophet, right? Like the Lord has given you a seed. And the way that this works in the business world is the rest of reality exists outside of you, right? So you
Hmm.
got to go out. And that's the most loving thing that you can do, is to go out and actually reach out to potential customers and actually understand really, really deeply what keeps them ticking. And I think just from a product standpoint, just to nerd out here a little bit, a lot of people have this grand vision of their user experience. It's like, I got to do this and this and this and this, but they miss the big picture. The big picture is just all the stuff you're tinkering, the user flow and all this stuff. Remember, that's like 1%. Very rarely will it be so like a Salesforce or something. That's like a percent of literally like the rest of the workflows that you got to go through as a customer,
Hmm.
right? So it just provides you a modest understanding of where you fit in someone's actual like day-to-day workflow, right? It's like, I've got a Slack here, I've got email here, I've got my AI tools here, I've got Premiere Pro here, I've got, this sound recorder, I got my studio here, I've got in person, I've got out of person, I've got to deal with planning on spreadsheets. And then it's like, oh, okay, I got FilmPack. So
Yeah.
where does that come in? So once that comes in, now you can say, let me be the best in the world at delighting you once that moment happens, right? Now that's a very different perspective, and you can't get that with paid ads. You'll never get that. You will get that if you are willing to sacrifice your time, your effort to getting to know that by reaching out to your potential customers, and then facing the fact that you actually don't have the full picture, but
Hmm.
they have an understanding of the problem that allows you to then serve them that much better. And that's the other
Yeah.
thing too, is that customers are really good at sharing their problems. They're really bad at sharing a solution, right?
Hmm.
Let them articulate pain, let them articulate problem, let them articulate workflow and all that stuff. But then your job is to now serve them. And that's what makes your unique experiences, skills, and whatnot so unique, because you get to interpret all of that and now provide your stab in the marketplace of ideas and service, hopefully in a way that outdoes everybody else, right? So, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that, and exploring the pain, finding the pain for the customer, and then trying to solve that pain. That's kind of that's part of the fun of life, is
Yep,
fixing
yep.
problems for other
And
people.
and when you do that, and I forgot, is if you do 100, that means you're onto something good.
Yeah,
It's often
yeah,
what it's on 100, 1,000,
right,
whatever it is. But if you can do that 100, like chances are you found something that's worth industrializing. You
absolutely.
found that 10% product feature that actually everybody, regardless of the demo or the role or whatever, they want that, right? So it helps you develop a pattern recognition that gets you to a product market fit. So that's really important too.
Yeah. One last
Yeah.
quote from yours. Your greatest enemy is yourself. It's not the board. It's not who or who isn't on your team. It's yourself.
Yeah. That's good, man. Um, yeah, I wrote it. Hopefully, it was good. So I think it's really important to scale yourself, right? I think people forget, and this is basic. You know, a lot of people may think it's basic. I don't think it's basic. I think we forget it as humans all the time. Like we focus on all the other things we got to scale, but we forget that we're the number one deterrent, right? In terms of that world existing in a harmonious way. So
Hmm.
what I mean by that is like your role is different, 0 to 1. Like your role is different, and your role is going to be different should you want to take that journey from 1 to 10. It just is, right? You can't do specific things that you used to be able to do. And one of the traps there is to fully delegate everything. So like 1 to 10 is really, really important. It's a make or break, in my opinion, because the temptation in these days is just to be a manager, right? Just to
Right.
delegate everything, and do that one thing. Usually, that one thing is you're just talking a lot, right? That's it. And I think that's a travesty because no, you still need to be in the trenches. You just got to have to figure out the tools, the systems, the processes, right, for you to be able to do that at the scale that you're at now. That's what. So the principle of being close to the customer, the principle of being a good faithful neighbor and stewarding and outdoing generosity 10 times, where
Yeah.
where 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 you're delighting customers, like that principle still needs to always be there. It's just that the tools, the systems, the process by which you take it will naturally have to differ as the company becomes more complex, right?
Yeah.
So I think oftentimes people forget that, and then as a result, yeah, they buy into the modern managerial mindset, and they literally provide no value, right?
Yeah.
There's literally no more value. The only reason why Bezos is where he's at, the only reason why Steve Jobs was where he was at, was that they were literally compulsively obsessive of the customer, 100 times more than the guy who was probably getting paid more than Bezos, because he was some bigwig or whatever. Like that's their cutting edge. And that's the funny thing is that for whatever reason, on average, the average CEO who wants to scale from 1 to 10, 10 to 100, the average CEO by default loses that one right from the start, and that's a
Hmm.
that's 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 a danger zone.